Sorry I'm a little late. We had a great meeting with the Spanish-speaking community. We've made some decisions, which I'm very excited about in quick fashion, that we're going to put an advisory committee together. And I talked about our ELL efforts. The parents seem to be very excited about coming together and making a difference for their children, making sure that we are doing everything possible together, not only the schools, but with the parents, so that their kids will be successful in school, graduate, and go beyond and do what they need to do in their life. And the parents were very kind, very respectful. They're searching for ways to help their kids. And that's our responsibility, to reach out to all means all. And when we talk about all of our students who graduated from high school, well, this is what it takes. It takes working with all people, all parents, to try to do the very best for their children. So I'm very excited. We've already scheduled the next meeting, March 24th. And we're all going to come together, and we're going to have child care, because that's one of the things that they indicated they needed to be able to attend these meetings. And we're also going to talk about treats and things like that. That's important. We're going to start a campaign of communication to the community to come and attend a very important meeting that will continue to move our school district in the right direction. You know, the parents were talking about the fact that their kids are being promoted through the grades, and they can't speak, they can't write, they can't read, and they end up in high school and they have great difficulty. Not only in high school, but throughout the system. So it was an exciting meeting, more exciting than I thought it would be, but it's taken us in the right direction, because I'll say it again, we want all kids to be successful, and we need systems to make that happen. It just doesn't happen. You have to have systems in place that let the parents know and the children know that we care about them and that we're willing to go the extra mile. What's great about this is that Brenda and my staff, we're just starting, and the board, of course, we're just starting to deal with the budget. And so we don't want to make any empty promises. Everything, you know, you have to have the resources to make things happen. So as we begin to talk about what we can do for our Spanish-speaking students, our Native American students, it will become part of the process to develop a budget that supports a school district in the 21st century. The demographics here in our district have been changing. They will continue to change, and we need to make sure that we are providing the appropriate resources to make things happen for all of our children. So I'm very excited about the meeting tonight and where we're going. So we were going to talk a little bit about the bond and the levy this evening, but it's actually kind of an open agenda. So does anybody have anything specifically that they want to bring up before we get into the levy and the bond? Yes?
I did want to add to the security issue that they brought up. I'm concerned, well, at least in the middle school, I know, it feels like we're really short staffed, and I know, like you said, that has to do with money, but yeah, for the security, it's not just like, you know, doors or adults coming in, just among students, like buses, and then right when they leave, and then coming in, and things like that. It feels like probably it would not be a bad idea to have like extra people to help monitor that kind of, you know,
more resources.
Exactly, just for that.
Yeah, there's no question, and we've just embarked on the safety and security issues in our school district. You know, we're in the process of putting together a district plan, and we're getting close to completing that. Then we've got to make sure that people understand what the plan is all about. We're also working individually with our schools to make sure that our schools have a comprehensive safety and security plan that correlates highly with the district perspective on safety and security. We have a lot of work to do. It's not just about resources, it's making sure that we're organized and we're communicating so that if something were to happen, We know exactly what we're going to do. We're not going to be guessing about what we need to do in an emergency, and we need to practice and rehearse, as difficult as that may be sometime, but we need to be doing that more often than not. So safety and security. In terms of our 8 goals, the number 1 goal is safety and security, but we need to make that a reality. And so when we're talking about a potential bond issue, the safety and security of our staff, our students, our parents, and community must be a number 1 priority and a key component of any bond issue that we run, along with technology and along with providing the best environment for our teachers to teach and for our students to learn. So those are the 3 areas that we're probably going to push hard on when we run a bond issue. Safety and security, technology, which is associated with safety and security, and then of course the school environment overall. Yes?
There was an officer who passed away, but I just, this makes me think about, I'm just the graduation and everything. So Officer Lingle, we would like work late at night for graduation for senior break, and so he would like shine his light over our classroom, and then he'd holler at us, like, "Hey, what are you guys doing up there?" And then he'd come up and he'd have pop for us, and he'd have, and for my students who has a less than best relationship with police officers, that meant a lot to them. And it's funny because Officer Lingle was really good about like touching base with me. Like he'd come up to my class and say, "You know, there's one of your kids that I saw up here. He's been like on the streets a little bit." And so I know that we have a new yes, we have a new police chief, and that was a moment that really had an impact on my own team. And so I don't know if we can somehow like figure out ways to incorporate that into so if the police officers are like supporting their efforts to graduate, like it'd be nice to see more police officers like in uniform, like in the basketball games. And, I mean, I don't know how to, I just like there to, not to arrest people, but there to like, man, I'm here for you. I am supporting you. I'm encouraging you. And it seems like we have this opportune time right now.
No question about it, and what you're bringing up is extremely important in terms of the big picture.
Yeah.
We're very fortunate to have Darren Moody as our police chief.
Yeah, I feel
Darren is with us 100%. He's on our Graduation Matters Shelton committee.
Okay.
He and I work closely together. We've worked closely together when there were issues in the schools. So we're very fortunate there. We're also working very closely with the Sheriff's Department. We're very lucky here. The Sheriff's Department, the Police Department, the Fire Department, Emergency Services, they've been great. And they're ready to go as soon as we are in terms of rehearsing these types of situations that we're talking about. But we've got great people in this community and in the county that are ready to work together with the school district. And we're doing it now.
Right.
It's just that the word's probably not out there about how much we're doing, but we need to do even more. In terms of safety and security, I mentioned this in the last meeting that I was in. You know, safety and security, the most difficult part of safety and security is controlling what's outside the school. Mm-hmm. In most cases, school is one of the safest places kids can be. But what we can do to make sure that schools are very safe and hopeful is to do everything we can to support our students, all of them. To make them feel that they're successful, to give them hope, to give them inspiration for the future. That helps in terms of the overall school environment, which you're very well aware of. We need to make sure that we're communicating clearly to our kids, that they're important, that they're special, and we're doing that in our schools. We are doing it, but we need to ratchet it up for all kids, from all walks of life, regardless of their circumstances, regardless of their abilities, they need to know, quite frankly, we really love them and care about them. And I see a lot of that going on in our schools, but we need, again, the more, the better. Because we as adults know, if we feel that someone doesn't care about us, we don't feel very good about ourselves, or that particular relationship, or the future. It impacts us. And I hate to be repetitive, but the number one reason why we lose kids in our public schools in America, they feel nobody cares. And I'm not talking about Shelton, because we're making great progress in our schools in relation to the graduation issue and dropout rate right now. We've lost very few kids in our high schools this year because our teachers, and I'm not saying this just started because of graduation matters, Shelton. I think maybe it's had an impact, but our teachers, our counselors, our administrators, we've kind of brought it to the forefront, and they're working very hard to make sure that kids know that we care and that we want to help them. But we need to do even more. And our whole system needs to be based on we're going to work together as a community to do the very best for all children. That's what we talked about in our last meeting. And I really strongly believe in the Native American proverb. If you want to go fast, you go alone. You want to go far, you do it together. And this community has what it takes, because it's been through a lot. We're strong. The culture and history of Shelton, and I don't know every bit of it, but I do know that the community has gone through a lot and it's still standing. And there's still hope. And I believe based on that, we can do anything. It's just like I said to the parents a little while ago. Let's go. Let's not talk about it. You brought up some very important issues. Let's come together. It's going to be hard work. You don't achieve the things that we all want to achieve unless you work very hard together. And that everybody shares in the responsibility. And that we look towards each other in terms of our strengths. Everyone has weaknesses. Everyone. But in this effort, we need to capitalize on each individual's strengths. That's how great things will happen. You know, I can look at somebody and say, well, this and that, they're not good at doing this, or they said this, or whatever. This is not a time to look for people's weaknesses. This is a time to say, we're coming together with all of our strength, and you watch and see what will happen. I've been in this situation before, and I know when people come together, there's nothing that we can't accomplish. And it's happening. Tonight, it happened. We're coming together, and we're going to make things happen for all kids. And that's what's important. That's why we're here as a public school system. America is the land of opportunity. And the public school system, and my belief is that it's the single most important institution in a republic. It gives people hope. It's truly the great equalizer. So we've got to make sure that we give our kids everything we have. And tonight, speaking to the Spanish-speaking families, it's real clear to me. It doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter the color of your skin. It doesn't matter what language you speak. Kids matter to all parents, to all families. So I'm very excited about where our school district is going, and we just got stronger tonight. We just got stronger tonight. So, any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I'm just going to add to the good vibes, actually. Can I make a statement instead?
Absolutely.
So I just wanted to just say that I remain really happy to have my kids in the school district. and I grew up in an urban setting, and so I want you all to know that, like, I didn't grow up in this town, and it just so happens that I landed in this town, and I'm so lucky. The public schools here are even with a meager budget, are really high quality and diverse, and so that's already exists here. And so, yeah, so just keep building on that. It's already really a good program. And then also to say, there are already good culturally relevant incentives in place for graduation, like the Squaxin graduation. Have you been to the Squaxin graduation?
I believe I was there in the summer.
At the event center, there. So there's that one, and then I think there's a Hispanic graduation ceremony here as well as a variety of other ones. So it's good to have culturally relevant incentives that, like you said, kids get bored or they don't feel important. Well, those things really keep them feeling important.
That's right.
And then before we get to the graduation ceremony, to keep having culturally relevant programs along the way. And we already have a lot of those in place. We just need to keep building on them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So.
And I really appreciated you coming to the current luncheon that we had. That was nice. Appreciated you being there. And I appreciated your email too.
Okay.
I'll build on that. I was at a training all day today of Native educators. And as soon as this meeting's over, I'm going back up in 5. And one thing that's come out of the Superintendent of Public Instruction's office very recently was a letter to all school districts about Native graduates being able to wear an eagle feather. The eagle feather is very important to us, to all Native cultures. And they're only given to somebody at a very special time. And so I want to say, most people don't know this. Shelton was the first district in the state in negotiations, and we're still working on a few more things around graduation and cultural practices. But it was the first one where our kids were allowed to wear their blankets. And, so we were doing that. My son was the first Shelton High School graduate to walk across that stage and got his diploma wearing his buttonwool. But we initiated that right here. And so other schools have picked that up, and some communities are still struggling with their school districts saying, please let our culture be a part of the school. And so we do have a lot, we always have work to do, but we also have a lot to be proud of here in our town.
Why would anyone not want to let their kids wear their blankets? Seems kind of weird that you wouldn't.
Well, it was a real struggle. This is the way it is. I mean, now.
Is that just a graduation though, or just
I think it's a graduation. Oh, it's a graduation thing.
Well,
I mean.
just seems weird to me. Why don't let them wear their blanket and feathers? Whatever.
We are.
It's important. I know we are, but.
Well, in
It makes no sense
1972,
that
my
they
brother
would-
graduated from Shelton, and remember the era of
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in your friend.
all the kids that took tape and put a peace sign on the top of their mortar boards didn't get their diplomas. Because this, that was a sign of disrespect and respect. So we learned and learned.
It's kind of funny when you say that because we just had a graduation at Choice. And so, we have purple and black. So, anybody can wear purple, anybody can wear black.
It just seems weird that
Yeah.
Who would care? I mean, let them wear what's important to them. I don't know. This is where they do with the check.
Well, it goes way, way back.
No, I don't. I was a year behind you in this, so I was around.
Yes.
Okay, one tiny little thing that it's just an idea that I've been thinking about. Graduation, summer school. So we have a lot of those kids that don't get to walk because they didn't, they weren't able to finish up. I just was thinking that summer graduation, not fancy, it doesn't have to be anything like big deal, but it might be a cool idea to have a summer something to encourage those kids to not like go the whole next year, but like to kind of get done and get out. I mean,
I think
not.
that's a great idea. I think if we have kids that finish up,
Yeah.
we should recognize them during the summer
Yeah,
graduation
because,
ceremony.
Choice has got a summer school, and so does Shelton High School, so.
That's
it
that's
seems like
easy enough to do.
I think it would be, we could just have it up at Shelton High School the last day of graduation.
Right along with that, I think most people know this because I've talked about it a couple times. We need to honor our kids as they move on through the system. And this year, we're going to initiate a ceremony, a moving on ceremony at the 5th grade and at the 7th grade and at the 9th grade. I think it's important to honor parents and families and their children for going through that a particular experience, so that they're going to look forward to the day when they walk across the stage and graduate from high school and then move on and go to the next level. But all of that goes hand in hand. It's the little things that we say and do, the little things that we accomplish that make the difference. And I think what you're talking about is important.
Yeah, it's not like, I don't think it's going to cost us that much. or
No,
anything, but
it
it
won't.
would just be simple.
Just a matter of doing it.
Right.
So I would say, let's do it. You help me with it.
In charge.
How many kids do we have that fall into that potential category?
I would say probably about 30 kids.
Really?
I mean, like, down at Choice, there was like 8. But, I mean, there could be, I'm sure at high school it's more.
Well, let's find
I
out.
just think that it would be an incentive to kind of really get going
And
and
even if
not.
there's 8,
Yeah.
you have to start somewhere,
Done.
then it's 8.
So mid-graduation started out with 4, and then we had 14 this last week, so,
I
it's
think
gonna grow.
I would support that.
Yeah.
I'm sure the board would support it. If we've got 8 kids that could graduate in the summer, they've graduated, we should recognize it.
And they'd be on time.
And they'd be on time. That's right, they'd be on time too.
And it gives them a lot less time to say, oh,
Yeah.
Mrs. Serrano, is there anything over here that the parents, does the parents have any questions?
Podemos también interpretar la pregunta, o un comentario o alguna preocupación que no.
There's a lot of power over here.
Da mucho poder acá, ¿verdad?
We're on our way, aren't we?
Estamos en camino, ¿verdad?
Good. All right. Very good. Anything else? We have 3 board members here. Sally, Sandy, Sally. 2 Sallys. Yeah. Do you have anything you want to say to the group here? We welcome you to the board. Sandy, do you have anything that you'd like to say, or? No. Not yet? Sally? Anything? You all right? Okay. Anything from our parents over here? We did talk a lot, didn't we?
I think that everything we said over in the other meeting was pretty clear, and so all of our questions, and that's what we said over there.
Wonderful. I'm glad to hear it, and we are moving forward.
So are we going to shut the bond?
Yeah, we can talk about the bond. What is it that you would like to know?
Okay, specifically, I guess I've been hearing about a bond for a number of years because I know there needs to be a new high school. We know that Mount View needs to be
meeting all day on Saturday with the board. And I've got to be careful here because the board is the one that's going to direct me to do whatever. But I will tell you that building a new high school is probably not in the cards. It's $60 to $80 million to build a high school. And our bonding capacity, correct me if I'm wrong, is about $67 million in total. And one of the things that Sally and I have talked about, and Sandy, I think I've mentioned something to you, we've got to be respectful of our taxpayers. And even though we have a bonding capacity of $67 million, we've got to really think that through. That's a lot of money. And I would like to see a bond that does a little something for every school. Really, that's the way you can pass a bond. Everybody has to benefit through the passage of a bond issue. Now, unless there's magic out there that I don't know about, building a new high school, I mean, I don't think it's in the cards, to be honest with you. Maybe doing some things to make it better, yes. But to build a new high school and then let everything else just go, that won't work. But we have a growing enrollment in our elementary schools. We know that Mountain View needs work. It needs a major remodel or it needs a new school. Well, elementary schools aren't cheap either. You're talking $25 to $30 million for a new elementary school. We'd have a state match that would help us there. We're not quite sure yet. We're just looking into it. And that's information that I will be providing the board and the community. But we've got to be very careful. We've got to be very strategic in terms of how we spend the money. As a superintendent in a school district, I think it's important to let your community know what you need, not what you want. What is it that we truly need? We have a responsibility to be upfront with the community and say to them, this is what we need. Now, you deliberate, you discuss, you have conversations with the community, and then you arrive at something that the community can support. And that's how you pass bonds. The community has to be actively involved in the discussion so that when we get to the point where we're going to run the bond, people are waving a flag and saying, hey, we go for it. Let's make it happen for our kids. You don't want to go forward with anything that the public won't support. In many of the districts that I've been in, we run a survey. We'd pay for it, but you'd have options, and you'd ask the community even before you run the bond, what do you think about this? Would you support this? Would you not support that? And then you know where you're at. Does it take time to do that? Yes, it does, but it's time well spent. Thanks to Brenda, she gave me a quick history lesson today. She brought out 3-ring binders like you wouldn't believe about surveys and about planning, and that's really going to be helpful if the board were to say, Alex, let's get going here. We have a lot of information that we can include in the process that will move us down the road quicker than I thought. There was what happened in 2012, it was a facility study of every one of our schools. Well, that really helps. Now, have things changed in 4 years? Probably. Maybe we won't have to spend as much money to get caught up in terms of what the needs are today, but that moves us down the road a lot quicker in terms of putting together a bond issue. Now, the difference between a levy and a bond, and most of you in here probably know the difference, but I'll just spell it out. And Brenda, you might want to add some things. The levy is what you need to run the district on an everyday basis. And a bond is something that if you pass the bond, you get the money up front and you start your projects. It's for what you would call capital types of expenditures. The levy is something, if we don't have the levy, and our levy runs out in 17, so we've got to run the levy in 17. And this community has been extremely supportive of levies and bonds, really. So the levy in February 2017, we've got to run and we've got to pass it, because that impacts everything we do every day. And the way it's structured right now, we pay salaries out of the levy. And we pay about $5 million towards salaries out of that levy. So that's a crucial one. But I guess after this weekend, I might have a better idea, after meeting with the board, what we want to do. And I would hesitate from saying any more than that until I have an opportunity to meet with our school board. Brenda, anything you want to add?
You're doing great.
Questions from anybody? You sure?
I could do my shout out. I just wanted to inform community members about Evergreen a little bit,
Come on up.
if that's okay.
Come on up.
And maybe I'll
And
stand
thank you
by.
for the use of the facility.
Yeah, so you're, I think most of you have been here before, but this is Evergreen. We have a beautiful facility. And I just put out some information because, you know, there's quite a few of you that are in the community and you know a lot of people in our community. Maybe you don't have students here yet, but we're a dual language program. And that means that we teach the entire Common Core, we teach half the day in Spanish, half the day in English. And students are becoming experts in reading, writing, and speaking in both languages at a high academic level. And so we, you know, this is a little poster. We do all kinds, we're really into doing all kinds of like extracurricular whole childhood activities. We have dancing, we have basketball group after school. We even have Evergreen cheerleading group now that meets after school. We have really dedicated teachers and a parent group that's very active and does lots of cool activities like turkey trot and Children's Day. We have a huge bilingual science fair. Every student in the school does a full-on project in both Spanish and English, and they present it to judges that come from the community. We are looking for judges from the community, so if that's something you're interested in, and some of you have gotten emails on that, we would love to have you be a judge. It's great for the kids to have to talk and explain in two languages, but you know, you're going to see students who are native English speaking explain really challenging scientific concepts in Spanish, you know, as well as English, and then vice versa. So it's a really cool event. I put something, I put it over here. Judy, my instructional coach, wanted to make sure I showed. This was the high school graduation program for last year. And we just noticed that both of the valedictorians were graduates from Evergreen, and then also to the president, the treasurer, and we went through and they have this list of all the kids that got scholarships, and we had almost half the kids that got scholarships were from the school, and from all backgrounds, from native English, native Spanish. So the experience of learning two languages really it's amazing, and there's nowhere else you can get it, but like at least an hour away from here, in like Bellevue. So spread the news and there's information. If you know people that have kindergartners, first graders, that's the best time to enter. We do take kids at all the grades because we're a public school, but you know, to learn both languages at a local K1. And what else do we have? We also our science fair is on the 17th of March, and this year we're going to have an open house to the community, and any parents that are interested in looking at kind of the reality of what happens when you take your kid to a language school and kind of see the results of it, you can just come during our science fair and talk to the kids and talk to the teachers and see what it really is. Because there's a lot of, sometimes I've heard, I haven't heard it myself, but I've heard that there's sometimes some not positive rumors out there about what it's like, but this is a good opportunity for people to see it themselves. And then we have some information nights. We have one in both April and May to inform parents that might think about registering kids here.
I just will say that Nina has provided excellent leadership here at the school. She's very progressive, she's creative, she's innovative, she's willing to risk. And I'm very proud of Dina and what's going on at Evergreen. Tonight's activity was really created by Dina. And I'd like to recognize, did you recognize Mrs. Serrano, please?
Yes. So part of, I don't know if I missed the first part, and you explained what we did, and translation is, there's a whole art to it, and so we had this Lamborghini translating everything that our apostles say, and then Judy was in the back translating, this is our instructional coach, awesome instructional coach of Evergreen, translating everything in Spanish to people that were wearing the headphones that are native English speaking, which was Dr. Apostle, a few other people that were at the meeting. So it takes a lot of thinking into languages at the same time really quickly. And but she's also helped it along with assistant principal Don Morris, who's right there, and Mike Burlett's also a teacher here. Wendy Burlett, his wife, used to be a teacher here, but now is at middle school. They take some team. And there's Lucrecia Hernandez, she is our family liaison. They've all helped put everything together for this and lots of other events. And then we have our PTSO president, not president, not this year.
I'm not on board officially.
Not even on the board this year.
I guess. I can't help myself.
Involved parent member, former officer of the PTSO.
She just did so much.
Who helps coordinate a lot of our events, and there's lots of parents that help make it happen today. So
Thank you, Dina. You did a great job. Donna, thank you too. Donna's the assistant principal. Any questions over here? I think we've kind of talked it out. We know what so, no other questions? Yes.
Will you tell me more about the bond then? So we need a new Mountain View and...
Well, these are all on the table for discussion. I need direction from the board. Then once they give me some direction and some ideas, then my responsibility will be to involve the entire community in the conversation to make sure that we're all on the same page as we embark on that.
And is it only buildings or is it other programs?
It's going to be facilities primarily.
Okay.
That's what we're talking about.
All right.
We're also going to be talking about something that's been discussed in prior years, and that's the grade level configuration. Right now, we have a junior high, we have a middle school, K-5 elementaries, a 3-year high school. When you're talking about a bond, you need to take a look at your grade level configuration and determine if in fact that's what you want to continue to support. And I guess in the past that's been an interesting discussion, but we need to land on where we're heading with that particular issue, so that when the bond is going to move in that particular direction.
I guess I have a question about that when it comes to preschool. So if we do preschool, then that would, all 3 elementaries then would need...
Well, eventually, one of the things I've talked about, and it's still in the real rough stages, is that when you're talking about graduation matters, Shelton, I truly believe that you've got to start as early as possible in terms of the children and the families. And so that when they enter kindergarten, they have the skills to be successful. Right now, we have a special needs preschool. We don't have one for regular ed. I've been working with people in Olympia where they want to schedule a meeting with us to talk about ways in which they can support us. But I would love to see a regular preschool taking the first step with maybe 20, 25 students.
So maybe one school.
Well, to start with, but
Yeah.
eventually you want to move the budget to support a preschool program.
Right, exactly.
And in a district our size, if you think things through wisely, you should be able to do it over time.
Right.
But we'd have to put a plan together and support that.
Right.
But preschool would be very important, and preschool should be part of the planning in relation to a bond issue.
Right, that, yeah.
I have a question about that. I know the state allocates funds based on FTEs. Does that include preschool?
No funding. No funding, yes, funding for the special ed preschool, right? And there's a grant for the bilingual preschool, but for regular
But we
basic ed
are,
preschool, there's.
So that could be something we might address to our legislators. Start looking at trying to.
It's been
preschool.
addressed. It's been addressed.
And well, certainly not strong enough.
Well,
The Department of Early Learning has a certain number of slots statewide for early learning. And they're looking at doubling that to like about 200,000 slots for the state. So then it's up to whomever to apply for those. And so then the funding becomes the Department of Early Learning.
We don't.
the sooner we can get the families and the kids, the better.
How is that allocated? I mean, first come, first served, or needs, or?
Who yells the loudest?
I know.
We're yelling.
They've looked at the matrix of high needs areas within the state to try to encourage more programs. And if we did something like that as a district, we'd be more apt to get slots because, and a lot of them go to the ESDs, and then when the ESDs down in the district, because Department of Early Learning does not really want to work with small populations. They want, otherwise it's more administrative work for them. So they want to get larger chunks of those slots geographically.
Thank you, Sally. The other thing I want to leave you with is this, that we're in a state of change. As a country, as a state, as a school system, as a community. And one of the things we need to adhere to is that as times change, we need to be able to transition our resources to meet the current needs. For example, our student population, which is real obvious, we've talked about it this evening. We've got to figure out, you can't continue to spend money the way you've spent money in the past. You support certain programs that are successful, but programs that aren't meeting specific targets, you're going to have to think differently because you have so many needs over here to make sure that we provide a 21st century environment for our kids. So the budget development process is going to be very interesting in the years to come, including this one, because we need to move resources to support our ELL students, for example. So what we talked about tonight, we've got to support preschool types of programs, support programs for our students and our parents, getting our parents involved in our school district. All of those things need to be on the table when we're talking about any of our initiatives. Graduation Matters Shelton, bonds, levies, any kind of a program. It needs to be all-inclusive. We've got to change our thinking in terms of how we view the school district budget. And the great thing about a school district budget is it's very transparent. There's no hiding. It's all out there in the open. It's online. Everybody, Brenda and I have been spending time going to every one of our schools, talking about School Finance 101, and talking with staff about here's our expenditures, here's our revenue, here's how we spend our money, here are some of the things that have happened this year that we had to dip into the general fund. I want all staff and the community to know about our budget, how we spend the money, where it goes specifically, all of those things. It's an open book. And that way, when we decide to do something, everybody that's interested has the information. There are no secrets. It's all out there. So, that brings us, I think, to a close. 8 o'clock sharp. And one of the things I try to do is, most of the time, start on time and end on time, because then people know that if they come at this time, things will start, things will end.
Just want to say we have a math night tomorrow night from 6 to 8 o'clock, so all of us.
Thank you. Thank you, parents. Thank you over here. It's gonna be